CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight in Ingersoll, where the CAMI production plant has been shut down since the spring, and GM now says it won't resume until mid-November. As Brian Bicknell reports, on top of that, there will be even more layoffs than expected.
CAMI began producing the Bright Drop delivery van in 2022, but that new era in EV production in Canada has now turned to new disappointments for those who make the vehicle.
And when we do come back to work, it's only going to be one shift.
CAMI went on shutdown this past spring with sales of the Bright Drop not as robust as expected. Unifor Local 88, which represents workers at the plant, says it has been informed by GM the plant will reopen mid-November with just 400 people. That's down from 1,050 and significantly less than the 600 union officials expected would be back.
There'll be layoffs. We've gone through the company right now to talk about retirement incentives. Anybody who may want to quit, give them some money and hopefully narrow our numbers down. But it's going to be tough on hundreds of people.
In a written response to CTV News, GM says this is not related to tariffs. We are taking proactive, strategic steps to ensure our operations remain aligned with real-time demand.
I think it's certainly a continuation of the reason why the layoff happened in the first place of slower sales, but there's a lot of things that are going on, certainly south of the border, that don't help the situation. I know that there's cancellations of shifts at their Detroit plant as well, so this is not just an Ingersoll item, it's an overall economic situation.
The news coming as the federal government announces it's delaying a plan to force automakers to hit minimum sales levels for EVs. GM says it welcomes this first step to align regulations to consumer demand. Adding insult to injury, this brand new battery plant built on site at CAMI specifically to produce batteries for the Bright Drop vehicles will sit idle for the foreseeable future, with batteries to equip the vehicles coming from south of the border, according to Unifor.
We are the only battery plant in Canada for GM, and we won't be building them, so they're going to come from, I'm assuming, 99% sure it's going to come out of the U.S., which just shows you exactly what's going on with the tariffs.
That one's going to hurt.
That's going to hurt hard.
GM says the battery plant shutdown is part of a temporary adjustment to align production to consumer demands and manage battery levels. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
A small SUV crashed through a northeast London home early this morning. Police say the vehicle was stolen and whoever was inside fled the scene. With more, here's Sean Irvin.
It is an unnerving sight that's become all too familiar in the London region. A vehicle smashed into the front of a building, its back tires in the air amongst the smashed brick. This time it is a family home occupied by two residents. Their ordeal began shortly after 3 a.m. at the T intersection of Portland and Goldwick in London's Huron Heights neighborhood.
We were awakened by the sound of the crash, and all I remember is the sound of glass.
Jumping out of bed, they headed towards their living room, only to be shocked by what they saw.
It just looked like a bomb went off. Furnishings are upside down. Curio cabinets are just destroyed. There's no glass. They're on their side.
With smoke billowing from the SUV, the residents called 911. They then went outside moments before emergency crews responded to see if those inside the car were okay. Now, moments after the crash, multiple residents say they spotted one or two people fleeing from the scene. It's unclear whether they came from that vehicle. A nearby neighbor was among those startled by the crash.
It sounded like they were racing down like the street, and then all you hear is like metal crashing and slamming, but I didn't see anything right away. Of course, then I get out, I hear the sirens coming, and then I check on my neighbors, and sure enough, there's a car right through their window.
She was pleased to discover neither had been physically hurt.
Oh, God, yeah, blessed that they're okay. No one actually got hurt.
A relieving statement when you consider the sleeping resident's bedroom window is only feet away from the impact site. Both say they've never had a close call with a vehicle before.
Nobody's ever faulted the corner. Nobody's ever bumped the curb, and speed is not usually a problem.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Sweeping changes could soon be on the way for Ontario's education system. The provincial education minister says he's working on a plan to eliminate school board trustees, the elected officials on school boards. Rita Ismail has more on the critics' response.
Ontario's Education Minister Paul Calandra says the current school board governance structure is based on an outdated system and it needs to be modernized. In a statement to CTV News, Minister Calandra's press secretary says the governance changes being considered are regarding the role of elected school board trustees. The government is not considering the elimination of school boards. Critics argue the changes being proposed could effectively sideline elected school board trustees and shift more power to Queen's Park.
They are elected by us, and they are there to help families advocate. And what we've seen happening over the last number of years is they're getting louder about the fact that schools are being underfunded. They're getting louder about the fact that special education is in crisis and that there's simply not enough adults in the room to support the kids with complex needs. And it seems pretty clear that the government doesn't like those voices being loud.
The province has already stepped in to take control of 4 school boards, including the Thames Valley District School Board. TVDSB came under fire after an executive retreat at a Blue Jays game raised questions about spending. Board trustees say they weren't made aware of the costs and didn't attend the event, but the province nevertheless sidelined the board this past April, citing financial mismanagement. Removing elected trustees would strengthen the position of the very administrators accused of the overspending. Now the province is pushing for broader involvement through Bill 33. If passed, it would grant the education minister expanded powers, including authority to implement school resource officer programs in boards where they're available. The chair of the London District Catholic School Board says eliminating board trustees is not necessary. In a statement to CTV News, Gabe Pizzuti said the model of governance has been central to the strength and success of the LDCSB. To remove elected trustees is to silence the voices of parents and diminish their say in their children's education. Minister Paul Calandra says the new governance model will be unveiled before the end of the year. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
Federal funding to house asylum claimants staying in local homeless shelters raised questions at City Hall today about fairness for Londoners still facing long wait lists.
This program in some way puts certain groups of people coming into the city ahead of the line.
City staff say there's a steady stream of asylum claimants arriving in London each month. Some are housed in homeless shelters or hotels. London was awarded $7.3 million to support claimants and dedicate 11 apartments inside the Cross-Cultural Learning Centre's building planned for Dundas Street.
Individuals and families that are asylum claimants that are currently staying in family shelters or currently staying in a hotel space or using our shelter system could be transitioned out of those beds, out of those spaces and into the housing opportunity, which would free up space in those systems for folks that are experiencing unsheltered homelessness or are waiting to get into shelter now.
A council committee has refused to discuss reviewing a housing program that left a landlord's apartment severely damaged.
It's not often I'm speechless, but, we've got people living in housing units that are incredibly unsafe, and we are funding those units and funding the supportive care for those units, and I believe it to be an urgent issue.
Councillor Susan Stevenson's concerns were not discussed because no one on the committee seconded her motion. She wants Project Home reviewed and an inspection launched for all of its apartments after a landlord shared video of their damaged unit. Stevenson says she'll now bring a motion to this month's council meeting.
This committee is responsible for this issue, and I would have liked to have had my colleagues debate and discussion and their concern around this. So I can't speak to why this happened today, but I'm curious, and for sure I'll be proceeding forward.
London Hydro officials say there's been a substantial increase in the number of people relying on support programs to cover their electricity bills. According to the public utility, one of the programs has seen usage almost double since March 2024. That was when the provincial government expanded thresholds, making more households eligible for assistance. The programs provide monthly credits or one-time payments to help customers cover their bills. Information on how to apply for assistance programs is available at OntarioElectricitySupport.ca. Sarnia's Blue Water Health and Western's Schulich Medical School are partnering, trying to boost physician numbers in Lambton County. 5 medical students are starting a 2-year clerkship program working out of Blue Water Health in Sarnia. It's hoped by providing opportunities to gain experience in communities short on doctors, those aspiring physicians will choose to stay once they complete their education.
We know that where students train is where they ultimately end up working. And so what we want to do is we want students to experience what a community-based learning experience is like, in the hopes that they will be excited to come and work in communities like Sarnia.
The 5 medical students officially began their immersive clinical training last week. A community in Midwestern Ontario has built its own fire training center meant to help its volunteer firefighters keep up with a rapidly increasing workload. Scott Miller reports.
Saugeen Shore's volunteer firefighters have never been busier.
Our call volume certainly has gone up. This year we're projecting a call a day, so somewhere between 350 and 360 calls. Our structure fires certainly have gone up.
That's almost double the amount of fire calls compared to just 5 years ago in Saugeen Shores. The rapidly growing community is now at the point they need their own fire training center to keep their approximately 55 volunteer firefighters ready for anything, says Chief Melanson.
This gives us the ability to burn inside in a controlled atmosphere where firefighters are safe but still experience all the things that they would experience inside a home.
The Saugeen Shores Fire Department's new Center for Training Excellence was officially open today, although training has been taking place since early summer. Ontario's Solicitor General was there to cut the ribbon.
When a firefighter is well trained, it means they can do their job with that much more assurance that they can come home at the end of the day. That's all we ask, that they come home to their families at the end of the day. They run into danger when others run away. We want to make sure they're safe.
The training center cost $400,000 to build and equip. It will also be used by neighboring volunteer fire departments.
At different times, we work through the mutual aid system and we work together at different fires. If, say, we have a larger event, we may have Paisley, Erin Elderslie, Tiverton, and whatnot at a call. So it works out well working with our neighbors.
Melanson says firefighters were doing training at Bruce Powers Firefighter Training Center or inside donated buildings about to be demolished before. He says this structure will suit their needs much better.
Firefighting is a very dangerous game, and cancer prevention is a very dangerous thing, and it's at the forefront now. So when we're able to control what we're doing, where we're doing it, and the materials that we burn to make sure that our firefighters are safe, it puts us in a good spot.
Having a training facility where they can practice all the scenarios and know what they need to do is critical to that. So this is great. Like, it just makes sure that we have safe firefighters and a safe community, and that's what we want.
In Port Elgin, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Still ahead, a new voice leading St. Paul's Cathedral. The musical director brought in from overseas and his plans for the community music scene. Canada's main stock index finished slightly lower amid broad-based losses. The TSX down 23 points. In New York, the Dow added 114, the Nasdaq up 98. The Canadian dollar gained 0.07 of a cent. On commodity markets, gold moved ahead more than $24 an ounce. Oil added 39 cents a barrel. The federal government has rolled out an assistance plan for industries hit hardest by American tariffs. With more on these latest measures, here's Mike Lecouture.
Today we got some details about the billions of dollars worth of help provided for industries affected by tariffs in this months-long trade war.
$80 million of that funding will be dedicated to businesses right here in Atlantic Canada.
That money is being put aside for small and medium-sized businesses in the region and will be shared between the 4 provinces.
What we're allocating here is bigger than the relative share of population, the relative share of GDP of the overall Canadian economy allocated that way.
It's part of a $1 billion fund to help those businesses affected by the tariffs. But some advocates point out businesses are still trying to repay pandemic loans, and they'd like to see relief in another form.
Perhaps a measure to actually eliminate all corporate income taxes on small firms until such time as we're on the other side of the trade war.
Ultimately, aluminum is a commodity.
In Montreal, Industry Minister Mélanie Joly sketched out some details around the sectoral help.
Quebec aluminum sector will get its fair share. And we believe that with the projects that are being discussed right now with Alcoa, with Rio Tinto, and with Alouette, it's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Both the financial aid and focus on using local aluminum for public procurement projects is being applauded by the industry, but it won't replace what's being lost in the trade war.
We can't just easily transfer what was sold in the US just here in Canada. The market size is smaller.
Minister Joly says the government is doing a full court press in negotiations with the U.S., adding the clerk of the Privy Council, Michael Sabia, was in Washington last week. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, the number of packages shipped to the U.S. is dropping dramatically, down more than 80% since the Trump administration ended an exemption for duties on products under $800. Judy Trin has more on the impact for Canadian businesses.
The shipping command center. From a warehouse in Toronto, Jana Reed sells organic clothes and children's toys that she brings in from Europe. Last year, her business generated $1 million in revenue, but sales to the U.S. are plummeting.
Straight loss of 20 to 25% of our sales are just gone. Just overnight turned off.
Reed stopped selling to American customers after the U.S. removed its de minimis exemption and started charging tariffs on foreign shipments valued at $800 or less.
De minimis, it's a big deal. It's a big scam going on.
In 2024, more than 1.3 billion low-value parcels were shipped to the U.S., with an estimated value of $64 billion. After tariffs took effect on August 29th, postal traffic plunged by more than 80%. Selling to Americans is now bogged down by red tape and not worth the hassle for some.
The paperwork and getting SKUs and tariffs and duties, I don't know. I really don't know. It seems like a lot of effort.
The Trump administration said it changed the policy to stop traffickers from sending illicit drugs through the mail. But trade experts say more targeted action could have been taken.
The United States has additional tools it could use, better screening mechanisms to monitor illegally shipped items. Rather than disrupting a really valuable tool for American consumers and small businesses.
The average American household buys 8 de minimis products a year. Those products will now cost more and take longer to deliver. The tariffs could also impact votes in next year's U.S. midterm elections. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Good evening. Clear conditions overnight. Watch for a bit of fog first thing in the morning, but your Tuesday is looking good. First thing in the morning, it'll be cool to start, about 8 degrees by 6 a.m. and we're 13 degrees at 8 o'clock. So if you are heading out for a walk, Jen, with Chase in the morning, expect some sunshine, but you will need a light jacket. You can shed that jacket by the afternoon. Temperatures are headed up and we have some warm air moving in. I'll have all your local forecast details coming up in just a few minutes.
Welcome back on the desk now with Julie Atchison. We were talking off air, Julie, just about how this week is shaping up. The word that comes to mind for me sounds like a Goldilocks kind of week where it's just really nice every day.
Yes, perfect conditions, lots of sunshine. You know, being outdoors this time of year, we hope for weather like this with daytime highs in the upper teens, low 20s. We will see a day-to-day warming. Carlyle temperatures are headed above normal, so some warm air on the move. It's cool, though, in the morning and overnight, so basically a repeat of what we had last night. We dipped down between 4 and 5 degrees. Watch for some fog overnight. I was out just before sunrise this morning and I did encounter some fog, expecting that again as we head into tomorrow morning. Now, if you're near the lake shore, Erie and Huron overnight, 11 to 12 degrees. There has been some light rainfall areas to the northwest associated with a weak front that's trying to push in. However, we are under the influence of very strong high pressure, so it's not allowing anything to move into the Great Lakes. So we are expecting to stay nice and clear. So this wavy little front bringing a little bit of rainfall to areas northwestern Ontario. That front will continue its trek. You can see the rain out over Superior overnight, but staying well off to the north. high pressure for us, but there are some frost advisories to the east of Georgian Bay, so northern Haliburton area and in and around northern Peterborough County. Next 36 hours keeps us clear. We'll see a few fair weather clouds in parts of Midwestern Ontario tomorrow afternoon, so we'll go from full sunshine to a mix of sun and cloud. But other than that, not a lot of active weather to speak of. There's your frost advisory I was mentioning to the east of Georgian Bay. If you are fairbound for your Tuesday, lots of sunshine as we head through the afternoon and into the evening. 23 degrees, the forecast high. And over the next 7 days, we're going to back those days up. Wednesday and Thursday, sunshine both days. 24 to 25 degrees. We could see 26 on Saturday under a mix of sun and cloud. Now, the overnight lows anywhere from about 5 to 12 degrees, but the weekend will feature some warming air. Now, Saturday and Sunday, we could see things shift a bit with the weekend forecast. Saturday night into Sunday, there is a weak system that'll be moving through, so those probabilities could come up to about a 40% chance. Right now, we are still looking at a very low probability of rain for the weekend. Midwestern Ontario, a cool, fresh start and 22 in the afternoon. A mix of sun and cloud Wednesday. We're into full sunshine Thursday, Friday. Back-to-back days, Saturday and Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud. I introduced a slighter, higher probability on Saturday to about a 40% chance, but likely anytime after sunset. Not expecting a lot in the way of rainfall this weekend. I'll keep you posted if that shifts. And then as we head into early next week, daytime highs 22 to 23. That's where we want to be this time of year. Just beautiful conditions. Carlyle mentioned a Goldilocks forecast. It doesn't get much better than this. Lots of sunshine and daytime highs nice and comfortable. Low humidity, nice dry air. Get outside and enjoy it. Carlyle, back to you.
Thanks, Julie. So back to more comfortable summer conditions this week, coming off what was a summer that saw some intense heat across our region. According to data at one Southwestern Ontario weather station, it was the hottest summer in 70 years. With more on that, here's Karis Matt.
Cooler temperatures are now upon us, but for the bulk of summer, many struggle to beat the heat. And now we know why.
I don't think people have to be told that it was a very warm summer here in the region. In fact, it was the warmest summer since 1955. And of course, we're talking about meteorological summer, which goes for June, July, and August.
The hottest summer in 70 years, and the fourth hottest summer that the E.D. Soulis weather station at the University of Waterloo has recorded since 1914. Fall doesn't officially begin until September 22nd, but experts continue to reflect on the intense heat.
We saw 34 days over 30 degrees Celsius when on average typical summer we only see 11. So you see we saw 3 times more days above 30. And put all that together and it was about 1.5 degrees above the average temperature for those 3 months.
The summer's high was 35 degrees on June 24th, marking the third highest reported temperature in the weather station's 25-year history. And none of that data includes humidex values.
The problem is it's harder to get the long-term humidity going back many, many years. So it makes it harder to get those records going back that long for the humidex, whereas temperature, we do actually have some solid records for it.
Air conditioning specialists say they also noticed the hotter season, leading to a busier year than usual.
It wasn't just busy 1 week, off for 2, busy a couple days. There was a sense of urgency pretty much all year, and it maintained consistency.
A mix of new unit installations and everyday calls for service.
A lot of people in a frantic, panic state. Stuff stopped working. It's 35 degrees outside. You really can't maintain comfort in your home when it's that hot.
Looking ahead, though, weather experts say the intense heat is not a precursor of what's to come.
Certainly going to the winter, that's going to depend a lot on weather patterns and an El Nino and a whole bunch of other global patterns. So much too early to talk about the winter.
Karis Matt, CTV News, Kitchener.
Welcome back. Organizers with Airshow London say this year's event was a sellout. More than 7,500 vehicles packed the grounds for the 3-day drive-in format. New for this year, a vintage aircraft display called Warbird Alley. This year's event also marked the Airshow's 10th anniversary.
There's a big legacy piece here, certainly, and there's a whole lot of fan favorites. These are assets and planes that people wouldn't be able to see, on every average place. It's cool that in the region we're able to kind of bring these economic drivers here.
Really enjoy it. It's a really fun family tradition that we do every year, and it's nice to see all the planes and all the new updates they have and all the old ones from the wars.
The London event has been named the best air show in North America by USA Today for 4 straight years. And finally tonight, St. Paul's Cathedral has a new musical director. As Brent Lale reports, he's making this London his new home, coming from more than 5,000 kilometers away and adding his voice to the local music scene.
From London to London.
I did 13 years in London, England, as a freelance singer, organist, director, educator, and I was actually looking for something a little calmer, and this London's definitely calmer.
Lawrence Williams, who has toured the world in professional choirs, has taken the musical reins at St. Paul's Cathedral.
I hope what I can bring here is a passion to introduce people to music, whether that's through the concerts we want to set up here or whether that's through some of the educational schemes I really want to build.
On top of playing the beautiful organ, he'll be directing the adult choir and working with children and Western students. As a child, he had the unique claim to fame as a chorister at Westminster Abbey.
I had the privilege of singing for a number of royal services, and including the funeral for the Queen Mother in 2001. And it was very odd going back and watch when the Queen's funeral happened a couple of years ago, watching that and seeing a lot of the parallels.
He's just so enthusiastic about music, about church music, about choral singing, about singing together, joining voices together, about perfection. It's that breath of fresh air. He has ideas.
And he has 4 big ideas for the London music scene.
I want to bring some amazing concert experiences and bring new audiences to that. I want to create the most amazing adult choir. I want to create a chorister experience program here, which will be on a Wednesday after school. And that's an opportunity for children to come and experience the same tradition I experienced. And lastly, I want to start a community choir here that will be very, very open, non-audition, for people to come and sing in this beautiful space.
They are lofty goals, which musician Carrie-Ann Pasma believes will bring positive change.
I think we're going to reach new heights that we haven't before and make incredible music.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For all of us at CTV News London, I'm Carlyle Fiset. Have a good night.